Hello everyone, it's Livia here, aka Story Minded, and I'm back with another video, although it's been a while. I can finally share the really exciting news that I'm just over the moon about, and I didn't expect it to happen, and I was kind of in shock when I found it out. I recently entered another Young Poets Network competition. I've entered a few of them before and have been highly commended with two of my poems, won a third prize on another poem. And now I've won third prize again, which is amazing, and I'm just really grateful to the judge and the judge B. Rowlatt. Her comments literally made my week. They were really lovely comments, and it really sort of gave me a confidence boost, and I just want to share the poem with you now. The challenge, for any of you who don't know about the competition, it was about Mary Wollstonecraft. And Mary Wollstonecraft was the mother of Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, and she was a feminist way ahead of her time. She was an incredible woman who wanted to fight for girls' rights to be able to have access to an education. She set up her own school. She did so many things, and I'm probably not even going to be able to do her justice in this video to how much she did, because like so many of us, I never really sort of learned about her through my literature classes. I sort of heard of her in passing, but I never really actively looked into her until I wrote this poem. And I'm going to quickly read the quote that inspired my poem. If my phone would kindly cooperate, that would be wonderful. But something that really inspired me about Mary is that she didn't just fight for women's rights. She was a very logical and compassionate woman, and she knew that men and women should be on an equal playing field. So I think it really made me think about how sometimes in today's society, and it's not all women do this, but some women who claim to be feminists are actually tipping the scale into what I personally would categorise as radical feminism. And that's when you just have these women who say, oh, I'm a feminist, and like death to all mankind and death to men and all men are evil, and it's like, that's not helping anyone, that's not helping anything. You are just overgeneralizing. You are saying all men are X, Y, and Z, which seems to be exactly what certain men back in the past, because there were good men back in the past, you just have to find them, and Mary made friends with lots of them. I'm pretty sure when I was researching I found out she had this male friend, and I can't remember his name because my mind is like a sieve, but she had helped to set up her school, and I believe it was a man who helped her set up her school, but don't quote me on that because that might be historically inaccurate, because I can't remember all the facts that I learned about her. But radical feminism, it's not positive. It's like the flip side of toxic masculinity, when you have some men who are like, oh, a man has to be this, and this, and it's like, when you just boil people down, we're all complex people, we're all complex human beings. When you boil us down to X, Y, and Z, and you must fit into these boxes, it's not going to work. But this is the quote. Sorry, I'm going a bit off topic, but this is the quote that inspired kind of my filler now, and I'll talk a little bit about it before I actually read it. And I'm going to leave a link in the description to the actual website, to my poem, and then if you click the X on the box, behind it will be all the wonderful information that the Young Poets Network provided about Mary. And oh, she's so amazing. She did so much, and I just love her, and she was an incredible woman. But this is the start of the quote that kind of sparked off everything for me. It appears to me impossible that I should cease to exist, or that this active, restless spirit, equally alive to joy and sorrow, should only be organised dust. And I was just like, that phrasing, organised dust, that's just amazing. It was bloody beautiful. So when I heard that quote, I was like, I am placing that, bringing that phrasing back and putting it in my poem. And the poem format that I used, what am I on about? The the form of my poem, More Than Organised Dust, is a villanelle, and that's a form I've not really experimented with much, but in my first sort of year that I've just finished at uni, for one of my modules we had to do a poetry portfolio, and originally I had quite a lot of free verse poems, and I was looking for a different form to experiment with and think to sort of show variation. And I came across a villanelle, and obviously I'd heard of them before, but I'd never really sort of looked into them. And they kind of have, it was Dylan Thomas, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. Beautiful poem, highly recommend. It's really sad. But what I really loved about the villanelle is it's almost like a mantra, like you have alternating, repeating lines, so as the poem builds up and builds up, it becomes almost like a chant, and I thought that would really suit the kind of context of this poem. And what I kind of did, or not what I kind of, I can't even speak or process at the moment. What I did was I took Mary's life and her voice and I put it into this villanelle. So there are some references in my poem to a lot of the things that she did do. And one of them was like her parents forced her to sit for hours in silence, and I'm like, that's just horrific and horrible. And because she really felt injustice at the fact that her brothers were allowed to have an education, and she was livid that she as a woman could not have an education, and she's like, well, that's not right. And it's just trying to get your head around how your parents, who have been brought up in a particular way, who are taught like this is not normal behaviour for a girl, would then force their daughter as punishment to sit for hours in silence. Like, that's just, by today's standards, that's just mental, emotional abuse, and it's like, it's not right. So what I'm going to do now, and I've just realised I'm going to have to take a picture of it because otherwise this will shut my video down, I'm going to read you my poem. Okay, that was stressful. If I can get it up, right, okay. So, More Than Organised Dust. All women are more than organised dust. During those silent hours, my mind sailed. Put faith in the ones you know you can trust. My desire to learn was seen as lust. Eve set the world spinning for us. God failed. All women are more than organised dust. In Newington Green, I did what I must. Taught society had to be derailed. Put faith in the ones you know you can trust. If we're treated like objects, then we'll rust. Nothing to occupy, our fists flailed. All women are more than organised dust. Women were not made to sweep up men's crusts. Friendship above all else, my soul wailed. Put faith in the ones you know you can trust. Any damn you face, my sisters, please bust. Places still exist where rights are curtailed. Everyone is more than organised dust. Put faith in the ones you know you can trust. So there was kind of another moment that in my poem that just reminded me of, where I'm just going to find it, but there was a part that was inspired by, where has it gone? Oh yeah, the kind of whole idea of like God failing is Mary was alive during the time of the Enlightenment movement, and the Enlightenment movement was where society started to shift their attitudes and beliefs towards different things. So they started moving from like a very religious heavy society, whereas like church being the pinnacle and like the sort of heart of a community, to moving into science and logic and reason. And it must have just been, minus all the other bad oppression and other horrible stuff that was going on at the time, it must have been an incredible time to be alive, a very sort of turbulent time, but an exciting time where people were starting to look at things in different ways. And you can kind of really understand why Mary was so passionate and so brave to do what she did at the time. But the Enlightenment period probably fueled her even more to say, no, things are changing, and I'm going to stand up and use my voice positively to try and make positive changes. But yeah, I just sort of wanted to share that poem, and I've probably been incredibly incoherent, but if anyone's watched this, thank you, and please go research Mary Wollstonecraft, because she is an amazing woman, and she deserves to have her voice heard even now, because she's still relevant today. And anyway, thank you, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.